for a World Series, and so I'm excited to see Aaron get on track here in the playoffs.
How many home runs Aaron can hit?
I just want to win at this point. We got the record. It's time to win some games.
Quick comment on the sweep of the Cardinals.
At least your teams are in the playoffs.
Absolutely. No, it's we're I think practice 11 today. We have so many. I won't bore you with details, but we've got to take so many days off here in this 7-week period leading up to practice. I try to get several of them out of the way early so that once we get closer to playing, we don't have to disrupt that flow and consistency in practice. But I think we're about to start a stretch of 5 straight, which will be the first time we've done that. And it'll be interesting to see how the guys handle that from a mental and physical standpoint. Still a lot of teaching, and I like the group though. Really, really, good in terms of being able to implement stuff. Our system is probably about 70% in already, which is. I look back at practice plans from the last couple of years. We've been at about 45 to 50 at this point, but it helps. We're not as young, clearly, and so you can move along a little bit faster and not have to spend multiple days, because usually older guys pay attention a little bit better.
The Big 12 coaches poll is going to come out tomorrow, but you're kind of on a string of picking winners. Do you want to divulge who you picked?
I don't want to pick the winner this year. I'm just not allowed to pick right. So, I think we got a streak here. I don't think we've ever not finished above where we were picked. So, I think you guys can go search that, I guess. I don't know whose polls we care about around here. So,
Do you have an idea where you think you're going to be picked?
I have no idea. 11th.
That would be something.
League's really good, man. I may have shared this with you guys. I was talking to the commissioner when he was here, and he's getting a feel for the league and talking about the strength of basketball. And obviously, he didn't have a whole lot of feel for college basketball, but I told him how good the league is, and this is certainly not a shot. The guy I have a tremendous amount of respect for, but I've been in the league 5 years, and Bob Huggins has finished last twice. That dude was just inducted in the Hall of Fame, and so it's the strength of the league, not necessarily an indictment on him, because I think Shaka may have finished last once, and obviously Iowa State had a struggle a couple years ago, but usually somebody has a good team that's down there.
Mike, I'm wondering what's been your interaction with Barry Henson since he kind of shifts into his new role?
So Barry lives in my neighborhood. Probably shouldn't divulge that. Probably too much personal information there. But I see Barry still. He's if you know this, but Barry Henson is a lawn care specialist.
Doesn't surprise me.
So I see Barry often.
Is he a big yard of the week contender?
He's always yard of the week. I mean, there's always a project going on at the Hensons.
I've heard he's got a little bit of a biker gang going on with the kids around the neighborhood.
It's actually Scooter.
Scooter, yeah.
Scooters. My youngest child is a part of that, and she's the youngest person in this group. I think Barry's the oldest. I mean, if I were guessing. But yeah, he enjoys it, man. Barry's just a ball of fun. I mean, obviously, I miss having him in the office every day, but I can get to him when I need to.
What kind of, just his personality, ball of fun, how much does that help with the NIL stuff he's trying to do?
Well, I don't know that. I can't really speak to exactly what he does day to day, but I know that no one loves Oklahoma State more than he does, and no one wants to see Oklahoma State athletics succeed more than he does. A lot of people support us financially, but you can't give enough money for the passion that Barry Henson has for this place, and so for him to be out there on the front lines talking about what our student athletes are doing and trying to help understand how we can market them, I couldn't imagine somebody being a better fit for that position.
Have you seen uptick in NIL deals for your players?
You know what? I'll say this. I think our guys are doing well. I think. I've always stated my position on this has been I'm comfortable with guys being able to benefit from being good at something if somebody wants to invest in them. Our program would never be about NIL. And if kids want to go to a place because it has the best NIL program, I really don't want them here. It's not necessarily that I don't want kids to want for themselves, but that's not what this experience is about. And so, we talk about it. We talk about what our guys are currently doing and the possibilities. If you're good and someone locally wants to, invest in you, great example. I mean, can't imagine somebody more valuable around here than Dayton Fix. I'm certainly not getting in his way. And so when you see that someone wants to, have him market for them, makes perfect sense for me. But we got to be careful that we don't make that the priority of any of what we're doing, because it distracts from really the true mission.
Well, you gotta love the charity aspect then, I assume.
Oh,
right? That
absolutely.
You guys have
Yeah.
implemented with post purpose and
No,
things.
I'm always an advocate, always have been for our guys, understanding that they have an obligation to a certain degree to young people, and as a parent of young children, knowing how much kids in this area and even adults to some degree look up to them and admire what they do, and to be able to go and spend time with people, whether it be at a children's hospital or the elementary school or a bingo club, which I don't know if those exist anymore. Those moments are extremely valuable, personal standpoint, and that they can now, be able to then get business behind them and help support them doing that. That's awesome.
We've talked about him a lot, but with Avery, getting preseason All Big 12, just kind of talk about his growth throughout his entire career.
Yeah, I mean, it's what this thing is. That's what it looks like, right? That's what it's about. It's about a kid coming in here and really, right, if it's done the right way, getting better every year. And he's done that. He's put the work in. The best thing that's going to happen to Avery is in May. He's going to walk across that stage and shake Dr. Strum's hand and leave here with a degree, if he decides not to come back. But you go from a freshman who's probably out of place to a certain degree, a little bit. And showing some flashes of, maybe if this kid can learn how to not go 100 miles an hour, he can be effective. And then, you get better and you have progress and you become a starter. Still doesn't go great. As a junior, you're starting consistently and, you get recognized. And now the expectation is he's going to be a consistent producer in this league. We don't talk about that. I don't know, maybe because it's boring, maybe because it's kind of like, but that's what like 90%, maybe higher, of this stuff looks like. I mean, you see it with our football program. I mean, I don't know those guys as well personally in all their stories, what year they are, but I look out there and watch Brock Martin. I'm not sure the coaches have to tell him much at this point in his career. You know what I mean? But 4 years ago, it was a lot of stuff that like, hey, I don't know if you're going to be able to get to the quarterback from there. And so it's no different for our guys or for track or softball or tennis. This is about education, growing and learning who you are on the sport and outside the sport. So I'm proud of him. I'm happy for him. I want him to understand that he's earned that. But at the end of the day, when we start, I don't think they're going to have a ceremony and hand out any trophies this time of year. Whoever gets picked first isn't going to get to cut the nets down. All that stuff happens after you prove that you actually do it during the year.
You mentioned like 70% of the stuff is in. A lot of times the new guys have trouble with the aggressiveness of the defense.
Mm-hmm.
How have they kind of handled that?
It's interesting. And I love every player I've ever coached here. But when you have guys who can make shots, sometimes it makes your defense not look as good. And it hasn't happened a ton around here, but we're starting to have some situations where we're like, man, that's good defense, and we scored. And so it feels good to see that happen. And I tell our guys all the time, we're the fourth best defensive team in the country last year. I think we have that type of ability. It'll look a little bit different, but you're going to get tested every day. You're not going to play against very many defenses better than the one you see in practice every day, which should give us even more confidence as we go into playing games.
So is that your way of saying the shooting's improved?
Shooting's improved.
In your eyes, just what steps have been taken so far? I mean, I know it's not games, it's, things change, but for that, what?
First of all, the staff did a great job identifying pieces that fit what we needed. We knew we needed more floor spacing to be able to give, I've said it before, Avery and Bryce are playmaking, scoring-minded guys. And Musa and KB are good around the rim in different ways. KB's unbelievable footwork back to the basket. Musa's more lob threat, right? Get to the offensive glass. Tyreek the same. So you need somebody who people have to figure out whether they're going to help off of. And so with Caleb Asbury, Keon, Woody, John Michael, you have multiple guys that you can throw out there and feel like, okay, if they're open here, there's a good chance it's going to go in. And then there was the intentionality of the work, right? Our staff, again, did a great job of helping those guys understand where they would get shots from within our offense and what they needed to be working on this spring, summer, and fall to feel confident that once the games come, they'll be able to, they know they're going to get 3 or 4 threes from the corner, maybe some from the wing. That's where they're going to get them from, and that's what they worked on. So, and now it's just a matter of putting it all together, and again, doing it against a defense that's still pretty stout. It's something that gives us some confidence going in.
So how different are those practices then for you? Because you haven't had a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
So now does that change practice for you? Or
Yeah, it's interesting. I talk to the guys a lot about kind of past teams and guys who I know have gone through the same things, right? And so we do a lot of the same similar drills. One of them is our 3-on-2 kind of continuous transition drill. And it was literally the Thomas Azagua +3 drill. Because basically we started a drill, and if he was in, his team was going to have 3 points before the other team realized that the drill started. and we didn't have that for the last 2 years. And now we have guys who you feel good about. So, yeah, having guys out there that are going to be, consistent, confident shooters makes your offense a little bit more easy to implement. And now guys just have to stay out of each other's way a little bit, know when to pass the one more, but sometimes be ready to shoot it when they're open.
You kind of had a type in recruiting with long, big guards who sometimes that's against shooting.
Sure.
Was it hard for you to reprogram and take a John Michael who's undersized, take a Caleb Caleb Asbury who's not as long? Was that hard for you to bite that bullet and say, hey, the shooting is more important right now?
No, because I don't like losing. And I'm not so stubborn, although my wife would argue, that I'm going to lose at the expense of it looking like I want it to look. Right? At the end of the day, what looks good is more checks in the win column and moving up in the three-point percentage in the league and moving up in the least turnovers in the league. And a lot of that has to do with the type of offenses you can run based on your personnel. So I do think I've transitioned a little bit from, and it was the body type was one thing, but it was more I wanted tough guys. Not that I don't want tough guys now, but I talk to the staff all the time. I may have overthought the toughness part because if you can't make shots, you can't be tough enough to win a lot of times. You know what I mean? And we found ourselves in a lot of those situations, last year. I remember the Texas game, like yesterday at Texas. I mean, we played good enough defense on the road, and we just can't make a shot. I mean, there was a few of those games that, if we just shoot a little bit better, make 2 more threes, you feel like, okay, the game changes the dynamic of it. And obviously the timing of when those shots go in matter as well. But I think the desire to win certainly way outweighs the desire for me to have a team that looks a certain way. Still would desire to have rim protection, playmakers. I'd like to have some length on the perimeter, but I wouldn't rather not make shots.
The guys in here couldn't really say enough good things about John Michael Wright. Just kind of what have you seen from him so far throughout the offseason?
Yeah, I think we talked about him a little bit last week. Probably better than I expected, in all honesty, in terms of the transition with his teammates. And partly because he's got such a great sense of humility. He's confident, but he knows it's not about him. Right? He believes in himself. He's not worried about whether he's good enough, but he also knows he's not played 18 games against Big 12 competition over and over and over and over again. I'm sure they played some ACC schools. They may have played some Big 10 schools, but it was a couple times early in the year, and getting 18 a game in that environment versus what we're going to need them to do here is different. And so, again, some of it starts in the recruiting process. We're very honest. you know, and not that there may be a game where we need him to score 18, but I don't know if we need him to go and then thinking he needs to average 18, you know, because that means there's going to be some games we need him to get 30 because he's going to have some sixes in there somewhere, right? And so I think his humility, along with his work ethic, along with his experience, you know, he has, you know, I don't want to kind of 18 a game ain't shabby against any level of competition. 18 a game is 18 a game, especially when the other team's preparing for you not to get 18. And so I think the guys respect that he's been a productive college player for a while, and they know that, you know, he comes in understanding that there's a role for him to play here, but he's also capable of helping us in other ways if necessary.
With homecoming in